I took Dromai to top 8 of the 2023 United States Flesh and Blood National Championships, and this is the deck list that I used to do it. Please stay tuned till the end of the video, though, because I'm going to have a bit of a giveaway. I got some Gamegenic stuff to give out to you guys. If you're interested in the deck list, the link is in the description below with all of the sideboard plans, as well as a link to my matchup game plans. I made a giant article on how to play every single matchup in the game with Dromai that is under my Patreon. Jumping right into things though, why did I play Dromai when it's so clearly a ice and fatigue dominant meta? That's exactly the reason why I brought Dromai. I think those are all fantastic matchups. That is the exact field I want to bring Dromai into. I think that the Icelander and Lexi matchup are great, and the build that I played is extremely good into fatigue. I would even go so far as to call it a buy. In the words of Charles, he thought it was a 100-0 matchup, so if he thinks it's that good, I think I'm in the right spot if I'm trying to beat fatigue. And having a good fatigue matchup was probably the biggest selling point of the deck to me. After Nationals last year, I really wanted to have a deck that had a good fatigue plan, but not just that. I wanted a brain dead game plan into fatigue. After Nationals last year and after Pro Tour Baltimore, I found that the anti-fatigue strategies that I was using in the past were effective, but very mentally taxing. At the end of Nationals last year, I was so mentally fatigued going into day 2 and day 3 that by the end, I started forgetting how to play the matchup. I just kept making mistakes, and it cost me a top 8. So I needed to make sure that whatever I did this time, it was far simpler to execute, and it was far more repeatable, far less punishable. I just do my thing, and I win into a fatigue matchup, because they're not going to be interacting with me that much, so I get to just like play my deck and solitaire it a lot of the time. And if my plan is repeatable and works and is simple, I'm going to win every time pretty much. And that is what happened. Any fatigue deck I found was free. The other reason I decided to play Dromai was actually because I've never done good at Nationals before, but there's a weird reason behind that. So basically, I kind of went into this with the mental of, I've never done good at Nationals before, probably not going to do good again. So my plan is, you know what, if I'm already not going to do good, I might as well just play a deck that if for some reason I get lucky and I do good, this deck is incredible in day 2 for the projected meta that I think I'm going to see. And if I do bad, whatever, I go play the Calling. No harm, no foul. Like, whatever. I already thought I was going to go play the Calling, so I just basically hedged to, whatever, if I get lucky, this is incredibly good into the metagame. And I did well enough to make it into day 2, and exactly what I thought would happen happened. I got the meta that I wanted with the deck, and it was very good into the decks that I was looking for. The only thing I had to do was dodge my bad matchups day 1, because day 2, they just shouldn't exist. Basically, this is a dodge Viserai, dodge Phi, dodge Katsu kind of build, and none of those decks should be anywhere near the top tables day 2. So I just have to dodge them in the first couple rounds, and I'm good. As far as my matchups went, I'm going to be making a full tournament report going over what I played against, and just kind of my experience of the weekend in general, and doing some story time with you guys. Kind of like MajiinBae did his story time video the other day. Fantastic video if you haven't seen it. It was a really funny video. Go check it out. But to keep it simple, my matchups was I played a round 1 Hanabi Dash. I played round 2 into my teammate Lucas on Icelander. I should have won that game, but I punted on the last turn of the game, but I learned from it and did not make the same mistake later on in the day when I played against Dan. I played against a Fatigue Bravo. I played against Dan's brother on Lexi. I played against a Fatigue Bolton. Very interesting deck list, by the way. I played against a Dory on stream. I played against Dan on stream on Icelander. And I played against Craig on Lexi in the last round of Swiss. My only loss in CC was to Lucas against Icelander, and I could have won that game. Now let's explain some of my card choices in the deck and why I had it structured the way I did. So first of all, I had a number of people ask me, why no Dominia? Well, honestly, it's a little results oriented, but you know, when you have a lot of results, I've been playing Dromai for a long time now. I feel like I got enough data to back this up. I hate that card. I hate that dragon. I whiff it every time. I think I have like a 10% hit rate with it of it actually revealing a red. It's insane. I can't play with that card. I don't give a shit anymore. I'm just not playing it in my deck ever again. Congrats, free info. If you ever play against me, you know that I don't have that dragon in my deck. I'm not going to spend 3 cards to play a 4/4 dragon with no effect. That's just like a waste of my time. I recognize that the card is very powerful and that odds are that shouldn't happen, but the amount of times it does happen and how swingy it is when it does happen is enough reason for me to not play the card. I don't feel like it's necessary for the deck, honestly. And I think sometimes it promotes bad play patterns where you feel priced into keeping a 3-card hand to play it, where you're better off just blocking and not playing the dragon to begin with. It's a good card. It's just like, I don't feel like it's that necessary. I got this question a lot. Why Rabble? Isn't this big dragon? Rabble doesn't go in big dragon. What is this doing in here? Is this Empress? Is this Red Line? No. It's got all these big dragons. This doesn't make any sense. All right, so this was a very late change in deck building. I think I made this a few days before the tournament, and I am very glad that I did. This is one of the best changes I made to the deck. This, up until the very end, was a dust-up. And I changed it because my teammates, in all of our Icelander practice, basically said one of the most annoying cards in the matchup to them was Rabble, and I wasn't playing it. And I was basically talking to them about like what blues I could be playing, and they just like kind of offhand mentioned that card. And I was, I thought about it for a couple days, and then I looked at my data, and I saw that I pretty much never actually cast Dust Up in normal matchups. Like the Mirror, you cast it a bit more, but outside of that, really wasn't playing it very often. It was usually a card that I either pitched or blocked. Well, if the primary mode of this card is pitch, it doesn't matter what card it is, any red is sufficient. Why not change it to something that I'm actually willing to cast a little more often? I'd rather have my cards not have mode of pitch or block as the only two. I'd rather the mode of, play it. And I found that in a lot of the matchups right now, I actually valued the 0 starter far more. It's really important to be able to like block with 3 cards and then just like open with a red starter to push the board. It's really good into Lexi sometimes because if they catch you with an open arsenal, you can grab a Rabble, set it, open with it to push your board. No other card in the deck lets you do that. If I grab a Billowing Mirage or something, I need another card in hand, and that usually isn't what reality is when you get codexed, because you had to discard a card, you probably already did some blocking. It really only is going to work if the only thing they did on their turn was play codex, or they played a bad arrow so you didn't block. This is like not something that comes up very often, but like getting a Rabble so you can push your board, that does come up in that matchup. It's also very good against Bravo. One of the important things against Bravo is pitching red go again attacks to your second cycle, so that way when you have a board of dragons, you can open with the attack. It says, hey, either you're taking some damage or you're giving me a card, and if my board is good enough, I'm going to demand too many cards out of you, so I'm just going to rip your whole hand. Maybe you can't swing back your hammer at one of my dragons. You're going to have to give up something here, and sometimes it means that they just don't have enough resources to stop everything, and you have your round where you break through. And into Icelander, it's a way to open your chain and give your shit go again without leaving yourself susceptible to either a popper or an arcane damage spell in arsenal to end your round. They have to deal with this Rabble, then they have to deal with the dragons afterwards. It's really annoying for them to deal with that. Rabble's fantastic. It's good in all the matchups that I'm looking to target right now, so it was just a huge boon to the deck. Next up is Wave and Crown. Honestly, big selling point to playing Wave Crown was I actually get to use my Spectral Shield. I still get to pseudo play Prism. That was kind of important to me. A lot of this equipment suite I kind of copied over from Ian and Jamie. They were playing a fat equipment suite, and I typically do not like fat equipment suites. I think that it is generally a waste of sideboard space, but I think that the idea behind a lot of it was really sound, of just having the kind of the right tools for the job for each matchup, and a lot of these function very different in a lot of the matchups. Going back to Wave though, this is very good into the Lexi matchup. It lets you prevent 3 breakpoints between the Crown and the Wave, kind of a similar idea to how Morrow was playing Skullcap. It lets you fight over 2 breakpoints. Same idea, but it's 1 more breakpoint, and if you feel like you want it even more, you could potentially even play Skullcap on top of this. The problem that you run into there is you might be higher life because you're preventing so much damage early on that you don't actually get value out of the skull cap for a bit. These are both very good. It does a similar impression of letting you fight over breakpoints early in the game to kind of get a tempo advantage early on where you don't have to give up as much. Double Seekers. I hated this when I first was looking at it, and the more I played with it, the more I liked it. The having of 2 Seekers really only came up in the mirror. I did not actually play any mirrors at the event, but all of the mirrors I played in practice, this was fantastic. Getting to start the game with an Ash advantage over your opponent was massive. Just like, I just have an advantage over you. I don't have to play as weird of trying to make Ash. If I ever have to pitch a blue to do something, I'm not like behind. Ash economy is pretty important in the mirror, so having that advantage there was really nice. It also gives you a little flexibility of which Seekers that you're going to bring in for your other matchups. You could theoretically change that though, like we could change the Silent Stilettos over to No Room Gloves and then just play Seekers Leggings and cut the Seekers Mitts from the deck if we don't care about the double Seekers, because in that scenario we're playing Seekers Leggings with our Wave and with our No Room Gloves and with our whatever other glove we might choose instead. So it doesn't really change that much, but I found it was important enough in the mirror that it's getting to start turn 1 with an advantage, and that's a big deal. It's a very snowball-y matchup too, so like starting with an advantage can start the snowball. That's pretty important. Next up is the blues. I had some questions on this because my blues look kind of weird. This is another weird thing from my team. Basically, I found that in all of our internal testing in the Icelander matchup, my Icelanders were really meticulously tracking my blues and paying attention to what I'd used so far and trying to find moments where the odds of me having a blue were very low. Let's say I've gone through 7 blues and we're still in first cycle. Odds of me having my 2 blues left in deck here are very low, so they can make a aggressive play with a Blizzard or something. Big Brain Pheano, I thought, if they're gonna meticulously track my blues, let's make their life miserable and do a weird split on my blues so they have no clue what the hell is going on. So I did a 2-2-2 split of Sweeping Blow, Dust Up, and Billowing Mirage, so they just have no clue what I'm playing for blues. And then I added in a 10th blue of Epot. I kept finding I wanted like one more blue in the deck, and Epot is just the best blue in that matchup, so I added an Epot, and I had a lot of people ask me, are you sure this isn't supposed to be Time Snap Potion? No, it's not Time Snap. I don't need Time Snap for Bravo. It's unnecessary. The matchup is so good, we don't need an item to make the matchup even better. This is for Icelander. Icelander was one of the decks that I was the most concerned about. A lot of people think Icelander is just a very favored matchup for Dromai. I do not agree with that. I think that it is just a skill matchup. I think it is a 50-50 if both players are of equal skill. If one player is better at the matchup, the better player usually wins. If one player has a tech advantage, that gives them a huge leg up in that matchup. So I wanted to try to easy mode it a bit and not have to fight for my life in the matchup. So that's why, you know, I'm on the sand covers, I'm on the Oasis, I'm on the Thamai, I'm on the extra blues. I am not messing around with Icelander. I know how dangerous that matchup is and how razor thin the margins can be. No messing around. I want the Icelander matchup to be good. But then ironically, the only 2 Icelanders I faced in the entire event were both my teammates who knew about the 2-2-2 split. So all this 19D chess I did with my blues mattered 0. Absolutely 0. So that was kind of a wasted thing on my part, which I thought was really funny in hindsight. I think I would have still done this though, even if I had known. I don't actually want max blue sweeping blows. I wanted to have like a few extra Ash generation cards against Bravo, so Sweeping Blow kind of fills that role in my blue slot. I found that because of the way my game plan was and how focused I was on Uvia and cards like that against Bravo, I needed to resolve like 2 to 3 effects that generate me some extra Ash during the game. So I just wanted a few more cards like that in the deck just in case I had to block or I just don't see them when I need to. Sweeping Blow facilitated that. And then I just needed like a couple other blues that were good versus the Mirror and versus Icelander and versus Lexi. So Dust Up kind of filled that role, Billowing filled that role. They're both good in all those matchups. And then on the other note of blues, you'll notice I'm not playing the funny card. No Warmongers. All this talk about how broken and unfun Warmongers is, I'm not even playing the card. That was also a very late choice. I was playing Warmongers up until maybe 2 weeks ago. I kept finding that I just wasn't actually casting it, especially against a lot of the better players, where they were very heads up about the card. Against Lexi's, they're just gonna be playing Trench, and that was like the main matchup I wanted it for. It was like that and Viscerai. I did some testing into Viscerai and found that almost every single time it was in my hand, I didn't cast it. I just pitched it to prevent arcane damage. Like, I wasn't willing to take 3 damage to play the Warmongers and hope that it, like, hurts their round. It just wasn't good enough. It was more important to prevent damage. So I just, like, was never using the card. And against Lexis, they've adjusted their game plan to play around Warmongers. And if they're going to mess around with what they're doing to play around a card that I'm not even playing, I already got what I wanted out of the card. I made them do weird shit with their deck. I win. I got what I wanted. I don't even need to cast the card. I don't even need it in my deck. Now, if I was to play again this weekend, maybe I put it back in the deck because people know what's up and like, oh, you're not playing the card. Psych, I am. Or maybe I just play like 1 or 2 copies in the list to like make them play honest, essentially. It's just one of those weird things, like you just got to make your opponent be honest about things, and sometimes you got to spook them with the card, but they're already sufficiently spooked, so I don't need the card. And then I've done a lot of talk about how good the Fatigue matchup was at the beginning of the video, but I don't really say anything about it. Basically, without going too in-depth, if you want in-depth, go check out the Patreon. I have the matchup guide. I wrote like 2 pages on Bravo, which is really ironic because I find the matchup, as I said, brain dead. I think Fatigue is extremely easy, but it's the matchup I had the most to say about, because you do have to like understand some things of the matchup of like, don't be a complete ape in how you play the matchup. Like there are some nuances, but I find the matchup extremely relaxing and easy, which is crazy compared to how cursed Bravo used to be. To keep it brief, Remembrance easy mode. Just easy mode. We don't have to use a single brain cell. We just play Remembrance, and our life is easy. Essentially, we don't have to be as conservative with our resources in the deck and worry about, like, running out of Chromais, running out of Miragais, and things like that. We just keep playing these cards and remembrancing them back to the deck and make our opponent deal with flipping 12 Chromais. Like, how do you beat that? It makes it so they can't realistically ever fatigue us because we just, like, keep gassing our deck back up with the threats that they have a hard time dealing with. And then we just beat them, like, 4 different ways. You know, we've got the Tumble Tide to kill their AB, we got the Burn Them All to chip them down, we got the Ghostly Touch to kill them at the end of the game, we got the Mage Masters to put in the Passing Mirage, we got all the Ashwing generation to get our Ghostly Touch huge, we got the Chromai so that way when we have the big board, we go bananas. Like, we have so many different win cons in the matchup. They're gonna fall to something, and it's easy. It's great. I love it. It's I wish I faced more Bravos, because the matchup is just brain dead. I think that's pretty much everything I want to say about my current list. I do have one change that I would make to the deck after this event, though, in hindsight, and that is Time Skippers. I am legitimately upset with myself, and I never considered that card in the deck. Now that I think about it, it was so obvious. That was, I think, always correct to put in the deck as of last year, and the fact that I've been playing Mage Master Boots instead, I feel very foolish. This is so obviously good in the deck, either to make Ash when you go first, just be like, whatever, crack this, red, give me some Ash, and the game is easy from there. Or against Bravo, it functions as a replacement to your Mage Master Boots. It does the same thing of letting you put your Passing Mirage into play, but also it's far more flexible. There's other times where you're just like, you lost and thought them, and you look at their hand and you're just like, oh, that ain't it. You only have 1 popper. Crack my boots. It's go time. Kill you. Just having that flexibility on board seems really important, and I feel silly for not playing it this whole time. That's so good. So that's a change that, like, legitimately, I'm immediately making to the deck. Other than that, though, I was pretty happy with the deck and how it performed. I thought that there's no major problems with the deck. I think that if the meta changes and, you know, we see more Phi, more Viserai, obviously this doesn't work as good, but for what we saw at the tournament, I think this was a fantastic pick. I think Dromai is, especially Big Dragon Dromai, is one of the best decks in the game right now, and if you know how to play Dromai already, pick it up. It's good again. This is a solid pick for this metagame and potentially the metagame going forward. Now, as I was saying, I have a Game Genic giveaway for you guys. Big Pheano. Ooh. So, Game Genic, this is not sponsored, by the way. They just gave me some stuff in the mail and they were like, give this out to your viewers. And I said, free stuff, say less. So, we got 2 things to show you guys. I got some of these Bastion, oh god, Glare, professional YouTuber guy. Bastion 100 XL. They're like boulder deck boxes. I'll be honest, I'm not big on this type of deck box. I much prefer the like flipping over deck boxes, kind of like the Professor deck box and such. So I just don't use these very often. But they're nice. They're high quality. They do the thing. They click in place. If you're not stupid like me, I don't know how to work these things. They do the thing. They're great. They hold a full deck. They're big. I'll be giving these away. If you want one of these, I got 3. I got a green, I got a white, I got a purple. If you want one of these, go in the comments below. I want to do a funny thing for the what to do for the comments, but they were like, please use this thing. I wanted to do, you know, we'll do both things. I'm changing the rules in mid-recording. I want you to say, following Game Genic. Use following Game Genic in the comments if you want one of these. And what Flesh and Blood card has your favorite feat? We're gonna go deep on the meme that I'm a feat guy. We're just gonna make that the personality here. Who's got your favorite feat? And then we got one other thing to show off. You guys know the like snap fit cases, like Ultra Pro does these, where you like hard plastic case that you can put your stuff in. Yes, I know fancy cardboard is really cool. They now have their own competitor. I actually really like these, so I'm going to give the best endorsement for these. I think I can. They only gave me one. I'm not giving these away. I want these. I'm keeping this. If they wanted me to give more away, they should have given me more. That's the best endorsement I can flip and give. I personally want these. But basically, this is the shtick with them. Oh my god, my grubby fingers are all over them. They're all dirty now. There's side swiping, which is really cool, because the problem that I had with those was I would like pick up my equipment and it would just like open up on me and then like slap on the table and my card would fall out and then everyone would go, ah, because it was a lot of money. Now we no longer have that problem. We have technology. We do side loading things and they're great. I think they're like a little bit bigger. Don't quote me on that. They're big enough for you to even fit your gold-plated Force of Will Alternate Souls TCG hero cards in them. If I can actually get this to close. Ooh, fancy. If you know what this is, you're a part of a very obscure community. I'll tell you that. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Again, check out the description below for the deck link on February with all the sideboard plans. Check out the Patreon. It has my full guide on how to play the deck. It's just $5. Check it out. Support the channel. I appreciate it. I put a lot of work into this to make all these plans for you guys so you can go to your ProQuest season and succeed with the deck. If you want to see some Dromai gameplay, I will have a link over here where I had my last stream that I played. It was where I actually started playing Big Dromai again, and I was like, wait a minute, there's something here. No more streaming. I think we found the deck that we want to play for Nationals. So go check that out. I'll have that over here. If you want to see some gameplay with the deck, that was me messing around with it. I will have some more content on the deck in the future, as well as a tournament report coming up for Nationals. And if you're still here in the video at this point, I will be on Mansant's channel probably tomorrow, where we do some coaching and I teach him how to play some Dromai. So go check that out. And as always, thank you for watching.